welcome to this program, Gospel Truth on Glorious Vision Television. My name is Samuel Maradesa. This is that program where we address issues as it should be, using the Bible as our standard. There are several topics that we have dealt with on this program, and I know with your feedback, we have always appreciated you for watching this program and all the suggestions, and including the questions that you have been raising on each of the topics. Today we have another interesting discussion where I believe a lot of us will learn one or two things from, especially for those who are pastors and pastors' children. Yes, if you're a pastor, you need to listen to what we have to say today on this program. And if you're a pastor's children, I know you have your unique life experiences and challenges. You should listen to what we have to discuss today on this program, because we will be talking to you as relates to pastors' children. That's why we have the topic, the life and challenges of pastors' children. The life and challenges of pastors' children. Yes, I didn't just come up with this topic based on just thinking randomly. I came in contact with a book, and it gave me that idea that I need to bring the authors, yes, when I say authors of this book, and engage them with their own personal experiences and the experiences of people they have interacted with in the course of putting together this book. And the book I'm talking about is The Preacher's Kids. The Preacher's Kids. And I have with me, the first time in the history of Gospel Truth on this station, we will be having two people together on set with me, with whom we'll be having the discussion. And they are the authors of the book, The Preacher's Kids, which you will still be seeing the book much later. And that's those are Damilare Ojo and Adefolakemi Ojo. You're welcome.
Thank you very much. Sir.
Yes, you're the author of this book, the authors of this book, The Preacher's Kids. Yes, I know you could be seeing the bag here that is displaying the book, and also you have the beautiful authors of this book. And the book was forwarded by Dickness Olubisi Olowo. I know a lot of people would really know who we're talking about. So, how did you come about the writing of this book? Let's start from there.
Okay, I would like to thank you for bringing us up here.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a privilege to share our story with the world. Thank you very much, everyone, for watching. God bless you all.
Amen.
All right, so The Preacher's Kids, like we mentioned earlier in our discussion, this book is actually, let me say, it's a mandate. You know, it was, based on inspiration and, of course, experiences from others and experiences of our colleagues formed the basis for The Preacher's Kids. You know, a lot of pastors' children pass through a lot of struggles that they cannot speak out. You understand? Some people are scared, some have low self-esteem, We had the opportunity to interact with some of our colleagues. And of course, like I mentioned earlier, our experiences. I believe that you can't write or say anything about something you have not passed through. You understand? So as pastors' children, we saw this book as a mandate from God to reach out to our colleagues, help them out in ways they need help, and also reach out to them, to make them aware of a lot of things that are happening in the Christendom.
All right, let's go to Sister Adefolakemi Ojo. You are also a contributor to this book. So how did you come about deciding to go on this journey with your sister to write this book?
Okay, thank you very much, sir. I would like to say, first of all, just to quote a verse from the scripture, the Bible says, "It is not of him that willeth or runneth, but it is of the Lord that showeth mercy." So, first of all, it's not a vocabulary put together. It's not just words. It became an assignment. It became a thing of purpose. It became something that we're instructed to do part-time as inspired by the Holy Spirit. So it just happened when one day we came back from church, and we're just talking about something that happened in church as a discussion, a normal discussion at home. And then I was like, come to think of it, we can actually put this into a piece and then make it a book. We just said it randomly. And then she was like, book. How is that supposed to happen? I was like, let's just ignore it. We just ignored the inspiration that came at that time. And then we ignored and then we moved on. However, people started, you know, in the mouth of 2 to 3 witnesses, the truth is established. So we had more than 2 to 3 witnesses. And then we discovered, it came to our understanding that indeed God wanted us to do this beyond just putting a word together.
All right, so as we will be discussing on the life and challenges of pastors' children, they are definitely pastors' children, yes, and in the Apostolic Church Nigeria. So let's start with you, your experiences. How and when did you become pastors' children?
Okay. All right, thank you very much. In October 2003, Daddy called us, you know, after devotion, and then he told us he had received the call from God to go into full-time ministry, which of course meant that, you know, would cease to enjoy some privileges. Not privileges per se, but then, you know, normal things that we do as family, like hangouts and the rest of them. You know, pastors are sacred individuals and they can't be seen just anywhere. Well, that was the, you know, that was the idea behind it. Then we felt our dad had become a pastor, and then, you know, maybe when we see him every day, you know, we just revert him in a very different way. You know, he explained to us and made us understand that things would change. Not like we're doing anything differently, you know, but then we were now in the spotlight, you understand? So we had to be very, very conscious of the fact that everybody would be watching us now and watching our actions. So we became pastors' children officially in August 2008 when Daddy became a colored pastor.
All right, so one of the things that a lot of pastors' children usually say, though you mentioned it a little in yours, is that sometimes the parents, especially for those that are old enough, at the point when they pass, the father will call them and say, I want to go into the full-time ministry, as it applies in the Apostolic Church, that they do not really make the children have a say in the conversation. It's more like an information. Some will say, I would rather have preferred they get to hear from me whether I'm interested in this role that I will be playing, the new role that I will be playing. So what was it like for you? Were you given any opportunity to ask questions, to get to give your own view that what exactly does it mean for you to become a pastor and how does it affect us?
Okay, so I would like her to answer the question, but I want to say something. Okay. All right, so if you've read the book, in chapter 1, one little girl told her dad that she would love to live in the mission house. Yeah. And I'm happy to announce to the world that I'm the little girl, you know. I didn't know what I was saying. I practically cancelled Deacon, you know, in front of my dad's name on every book he owned. Like, I struck it out, you know, and then I replaced it with pastor. Honestly, I didn't know what I was doing, but I believe that the Holy Spirit used me, or God used me to make him aware of his calling. So about Daddy telling us, you know, what God had told him and, you know, requiring us to give him responses, you know, getting our approval about it, I honestly can't remember because we were really young back then. Okay. We were really young back then. Okay. But I believe that we supported him. Why? The signs that followed. You know, even up till now, we act like we actually, in fact, we are in the ministry together. There's no such thing as, that is the pastor, and let us do whatever we want. No. We took it upon ourselves. I mean, we are ambassadors of Christ here on earth, you know, and we understand that our family has been saddled with that responsibility to shepherd other, you know, people out there. Yeah. Yes.
Okay, let's hear from her also. Yes. For those that would have the notion that they didn't even consult me and I didn't have a say, I would have rather chosen not to be a pastor's child. So.
Okay, thank you. Well, I think at that point in time, that decision might not really be ours to make. In the sense that we have little or no
understanding.
Not even understanding now. We have little or no say or influence. Thank you very much. We have little or no influence at that time to make. Not because of us alone. Actually, in our own case, we were very little. Not too little, but at least we knew that, okay, this is what a pastor means in our church, in the apostolic church. He uses a collar and all. But for ourselves, we really did not have a choice. There was no choice. It was between him and God. It's a decision from him and God. And then as a matter of fact, just to chip this in, he actually had a perception ahead, even before he got married.
Okay.
He told her mom, it was like, okay, it's possible that I might end up becoming a pastor. And then she was like, well, if you do not serve God, who else do you want to serve? So it just became a decision. For her too, she didn't have a choice, except God had told her before that she would be getting married to a pastor. But at that point, there was no decision. So all that she had to do was, orchestrate or just try to fine-tune yourself immediately into all that.
Okay, what advice will you give to would-be ministers, and as they relate to their children? They want to join the ministry. Some will say that I don't need to even inform them. They will just know, just maybe finish the prayers one day and say, I've accepted the call, I'm going into the ministry. They don't actually want to get to know the mind of the child. They don't even want to tell them what it will entail in the ministry. What advice will you have for would-be ministers?
All right, so in chapter 1, I'm referring to the book because we covered this.
Yes.
Yeah, in chapter 1, we advised, everyone, of course, everybody will get married someday. Some people are married already, As a child of God, you should train and groom your family in such a way that, there's no difference even when you become a pastor or not. First of all, you have to be plain with your spouse. I'm not giving the married talk now because I'm not married. I can't say anything about that, But then I believe that every child of God should understand his or her purpose. Understand what God is telling you about your future. Understand what God is telling you about your marriage. When you understand that, you will know the kind of spouse you want to get married to. And of course, when you're having conversations, be sure that you convey these intentions with this person so that you won't, break the person's heart in the future and then the person begins to regret, why didn't you tell me? We've had cases like that. We've heard cases like that. We've seen a lot where we see ministers of God that didn't even inform their wives, and then those ones act like they are doing you a favor. They are very lackadaisical about everything. They don't go for meetings. They don't do anything. Even the children, when they are home, they pretend to be good, but when they are out of the house, they are something else entirely. So what Daddy did was, after he told our mom, I'm using our personal experience now, yes. After he told her mom, she was already in Christ too. They came together, they prayed every day, committing the kind of children they wanted into the hands of God. So they already communicated with God what they wanted. And I'm very sure, of course, God knew the kind of children he was going to give to them. And then when we were born, he ensured that every night, every day, day and night, he exposed the word of God to us. My dad always says, I don't have any inheritance to give you. All I can give you is what? The word of God. Yeah, exactly. So, I don't know if Adefolakemi wants to say something.
Sorry.
All right.
Okay, so I think another major thing, an upcoming pastor or one that's not even heard the call or can put into consideration is communication. One thing parents tend to misinterpret in terms of communication is that they feel it's a one-way thing. Communication is two-way. You say what you have to say and then listen to what the other party has to say. So in as much as you communicate your plans or God's instruction for your life, you need to hear what the children to have to say. Okay, Daddy, we've heard. How will these things be? So you need to give responses. If not, they will ask these questions later. And it might be in a more tense situation. You just came, you just told us, that day I wanted to tell you this, I wanted to ask you this, but you didn't even listen to what I wanted to say. So they will begin to act out the responses you did not give to them.
Okay, so one more thing. Like I said earlier, you have to train your children, act like you're already a pastor. You understand? It wasn't different for us. Right from when we were born, we've always been like this. Okay. I had a conversation with a friend sometime earlier this month, and he asked the question, would you have preferred your life if you were not, a pastor's child? Compare both. And I told him, if I wasn't a pastor's child, my life would still be like this. Because the truth is, we've always been like this, even before Daddy became a pastor. Okay. Daddy is a disciplinarian. No nonsense. My mom is a teacher, you can imagine that. So you can't even try anything in the house. You can't try anything negative in the house. You know, aside that, our parents are really close to us. We tell them everything. We open up to them. Of course, you know, there are some things you'd rather keep to yourself. But important information, like she said, communication. We learned how to, you know, trust our parents right from childhood. So we knew that that decision to become a minister of God was the best for the family and for us.
All right, thank you very much for those points that you have raised. So the life of children of ministers, so how important is it and how does it affect the ministry of the father especially? Oh, okay.
A child is like a reflection of what, okay, you are an individual in a setting, in a group. Wherever you go to, you're a reflection of what that group stands for. Do you understand? It's like I'm a team member of a group now. Wherever I find myself, even if my team members are not there, I should represent them well. Okay. Good. So a child should actually show forth that mandate, that ministry, that call, you know, in his or her life. Like I mentioned earlier, you are an ambassador. Whatever it is you do rubs off on your parents' ministry. I don't know if I'm making sense.
Yes, you are.
Yes. Whatever you do rubs off on your parents' ministry. Sometimes you go somewhere and then, you know, you act somehow and then the first thing everybody tells you is, and you call yourself a pastor's child. This is something we do. Wherever we find ourselves, we don't disclose that we are pastor's children. Not because we are doing anything bad, but because we want people to see us first before they
position.
Exactly, because once they know you're a pastor's child, they begin to treat you in a manner that you didn't even approve of. There's this discrimination in quotes. There's this stigma that follows every pastor's child about. Stigma in the sense that everybody has expectations of you. Do you understand? If you act in a way that they didn't expect, they tag you as a write-off. They feel you're a bad person outrightly. But then we try to make people know who we are. Okay, this is Damilare, this is Adefolakemi, this is who she is. Oh, you're a pastor's child, no wonder. That's why you always, I think that sounds better than, and you call yourself a pastor's child. Do you understand? So that's just the thing. And we're very discreet. We're very reserved. We don't, let me use that Yoruba word, kimbe.
Okay.
Do you understand? Yeah, we're not forward. Exactly.
All right. So in chapter 2 of the book, I think it answers some of the things I've asked. You spoke about all eyes on you.
Exactly.
So all eyes on you. I would like Adefolakemi to say a little about it as it relates to what I asked earlier on, saying that the life of a pastor's child, how it affects the ministry of the father. So what was it like when people look at you, especially in your environment, and they know that you're a pastor's child? So what was it like?
Okay, it's always very amazing when they finally get to know.
Okay.
You know, like she said, she was like, at first we don't get to announce public announcement. Okay, hey everybody, I'm a pastor's child. No, but the thing is, it should be in words and in deeds. So the first one that comes for us is in deeds before in words. We don't get to show the position. Know me for my person before you know the position. So being a pastor's child, it's always very good when they finally get to know. And then the good report you get to hear is, oh wow, you've indeed been showing this, that you're a pastor's child. So that's the best report. And then it has made us keep upping our game. Upping our game in the sense that, okay, fine, if this person can give this report, then there is something I've been doing before I must continue doing and then improve on. And also, it's the grace of God. We must not remove that from every speech we make because it's the grace of God that has made us to be who we are. So,
okay, let us talk about your colleagues. When I say your colleagues here, the context is your fellow ministers' children. Okay. So, your colleagues, have you ever seen some of them that are living in such a way that you feel this would adversely affect the ministry of their parents? So, and how have you been able to relate with such a person, if you have the means of relating with such a person, and to talk to them? If you have the opportunity, what do you say to them?
Okay, so like I mentioned earlier, we're not forward. Okay? Truth is, these are part of the challenges we have as pastors' children. So I think we should even move to that. Now, Even fellow ministers' children look down on, you know, some pastors' children look down on other pastors' children, you know, because of, you know, the level of exposure we have.
Okay.
Not exposure in the sense that, you know, both of us have tried to ensure that we don't, you know, we're not irrelevant in our space. What I mean is, we've tried to put ourselves out there. You know, this is one way to put yourself out there. So a lot of ministers' children tend to see you as is it a challenge now, or, you know, someone that just came out of the blues and you want to make us feel like, who are we?
Doing anything.
Yeah, like we've not been doing anything. Do you understand? Yes. So sometimes, or most times, we tend to keep to ourselves, in all honesty. I can count just a few ministers' children that we have as friends in the Apostolic Church. Yes, in the Apostolic Church. And that's because, of course, like I said earlier, we like to stay out of people's businesses. Yes.
Okay, what about you?
Okay. Specifically, I would say that if, just like she said, we would hardly go to somebody and then tell the person that, okay, this way you have behaved, this way you have, this dress you worn or whatever is, I think it might bring reproach to your dad's ministry and all. We would hardly do that. But in a case like that, of course, we've seen a lot of pastors' children in that position. So what we would rather do is to pray. We would pray for you.
Okay.
We do that a lot.
Okay, we do that a lot.
Yes.
So what do you think would have caused the reason why a lot of pastors' children eventually turn out to be rebellious? So some of them just don't see the importance of their father's ministry as it relates to their life. What could be the cause?
Okay. So the Bible says, train up a child in the way you should go, and when he's old, he will not depart from it. This goes back to the foundation.
All right.
You know, when you train your child in such a way that would be befitting to you as an individual, to God first, actually, you know, in a way that will be pleasing to God and to you as an individual or to you as parents, your child will not derail. Of course, the devil is cunning. That's why he's always after the souls of those that will be prosperous in future, you know. But as parents, when you have instilled all these virtues in them from childhood, trust me, whenever challenges come, we have our own challenges. I mean, there are days when youthful exuberance sets in and mommy will just look at us and, you know, sign language is our thing. I can remember a time Folake was playing in church. I'm sorry I'm saying this. Yeah, she was playing in church. Daddy came down from the altar, slapped her, and instantly she went back to sit. At that point, she knew what she did wrong. And when he got home, I don't think he mentioned anything about it again, but we already understood that we were doing something contrary to what he had taught us. They taught us decorum. Comport yourself when you're outside. Know how, not pretense now or hypocrisy, but then understand that when you're in public, there's a particular way you sit, you talk, you walk, you act. You know, when you look at elders, this is just basic things
Morals.
that you, exactly, this is not even Bible now. It's just etiquettes, you know, these are things you learn. And again, communication. Okay. Like we mentioned earlier, a lot of parents didn't tell their children. It's even easy for those that were born into the ministry. For us, you know, our dad became a pastor when we were in probably primary or secondary school, you know. He informed us. He told us the things we'll stop doing. We might not be able to go out as a family again, no, but don't worry. When I want to buy you something, I'll go to the eatery, I'll get you something. We'll eat it at home. So, you know, all those things he explained to us. And then we knew. I'm very sure we asked questions like, Daddy, so if I want to pay my school fees, you know, all these things. And Daddy would say, God will provide. And of course, he said, our very popular language back then was, okay, oh. So you see, everything is just foundational. If you train your children well, you know, when they are little, trust me, know how. I'm sorry I'm using that, you know, they would always trace their steps back, even when they go wrong.
Okay. Do you have anything to add to that?
I think what I'll add to it is that communication part of it. You remember I said in the previous question that if you don't give responses to some questions, they would ask it later in future and remind you that when I was asking or when I was trying to, you know, hear my own view, you didn't listen at all. So that communication part is very, very key.
Sorry, okay.
And I think another thing that makes the children to behave the way they do, I think another thing can be the fact that their fathers pastor them in the house.
Okay.
There's a difference between is my father and is my pastor.
Okay.
And then,
Go on.
and then also, okay, I think I should just talk a little bit on that. Okay. In the sense that when you come into the house, be their father. It's not a command, but it's just an advice. Be their father. There are times, it's not a church where you stand on the pulpit and like, this is what the Lord is saying. This is what, no. You can, it's biblical. It is because, I don't know, some people would like to carry spirituality on their head that they can't sit with their children to even play. So be their father at home. That is where communication builds
All right, we have to go on a short break right
Okay.
now. I know we have quite a lot to say. We're talking about the life and challenges of pastors' children. And I am with the authors of the book, The Preacher's Kids. That's Damilare and Adefolakemi Ojo, who are sharing their experiences with us. Stay with us and go nowhere. We'll be back. You're welcome back. The program is still Gospel Truth on Glorious Vision Television, and we are talking about the life and challenges of pastors' children. And with me in the studio, I still have Damilare and Adefolakemi Ojo, the authors of the book, The Preacher's Kids, who themselves are pastors' children. They use their experiences to write this book, and they're also sharing their experiences with us here today. So you're welcome back from that break.
Thank you.
So we are talking about the life of pastors' children. And let me quickly ask this question. A lot of people who are not pastors' children, like myself, I envy a lot of pastors' children, believing that they enjoy certain numerous privileges. So can you tell us some of the privileges of being pastors' children? Maybe some people will start praying that will go out for the ministry, that they will also come and enjoy such privileges. We're still going to talk about the challenges, but let's start with the privileges.
All right.
So let's start with with you.
Okay. So the very important one, for me, of course, is grace.
Oh.
Yes. Grace. Trust me. Your parents have labored. You know. There's always a reward. Those who diligently seek the Lord would always be rewarded.
That's true.
Yes. So for my parents, I mean, they've labored. Trust me. I know a lot of times when, as a family, we go on fasting for families, you know, for certain individuals. And even sometimes we go hungry because our parents want to reach out to specific people in the church. My dad is the pastor. Okay, I don't know if other pastors do it, but my dad is a pastor that would even give to church members that are lacking, you know. Not because he has plenty, but sometimes the Spirit leads him. Why am I saying sometimes? Every time, most times, every time, the Spirit leads him to certain people in the church, and then he tells my mom, you know what, that rice, that yam, that's 5 Alive, like you mentioned earlier, that they gave us, don't even open it. Just pack it together. We're giving it to this set of people. And at the end of the day, when God starts, you know, in places you don't expect, you know, the help just comes timely. So, aside from grace, we enjoy the rewards of the ministry of our parents.
Okay, all right, let's hear from
Yes.
Adefolakemi. So I know you will really love some of those packages that keep coming.
Of course, the packages are there, the Five Alive, the food and
ampa.
all, the ampa and all. But those are just, they're just by the way. They're necessary, but they're just by the way. And those that I've brought, I believe they came to sow.
Yes.
A seed they'll later reap from.
Yes.
Which, of course, they will definitely reap by the grace of God. Okay, so I think one of the privileges we also have is network. There's a particular sphere of influence, and it's dependent on the minister. So, it's just like Ajesile, something like that. So,
Ashesile.
thank you, Ajesile. So when you create a sphere of influence such that even after you are gone, or even while you are still there, there is a way you can still network with people that can open doors for your children. So those are one of the privileges, especially a pastor whom people respect a lot. Pastor who is highly respected. So that's one of the privileges we get, networks.
All right, our privileges that some of us would rather love to also enjoy. But unfortunately for me, I cannot enjoy the privilege of being a pastor's child again. Ever again. Except my children will enjoy that. But God knows the best. So let's now look at the challenges. I know a lot of people will talk about the challenges of pastors' children more. So what are the challenges that you have faced, you're still facing as pastors' children? Let's start with Adefolakemi.
Okay, because of the way I'm not doing my head. Like it means that there are serious things to say.
I know you have a lot to say.
Okay. So one of the challenges, I would like to make this personal. Like I want us to talk about it personally.
Yes, personal. That's better.
Personally, because it's more real when you talk about it personally. Okay, so I think one of the challenges, because of our kind of person, that's why I'm going to be talking about it. Our kind of person in the sense that we don't really have friends. Not because we don't want to have friends, but we're just reserved. Like, people just need to understand we have different kinds of people. So because you are a pastor's child, they expect that you should be public,
Lousy.
friendly. Nobody is saying we should not, we're friendly. We're friendly. If you get to know us better, you will discover that we're very friendly. However, a challenge we have is assumptions. And the fact that people forget that assumptions are always 99% wrong. You don't get to assume about a person until you move close to the person. If you don't open this book, you can't know what is inside. So when people now get to come close to us and they're like, oh, really? What this person told me is actually not true. But will this person go back and tell them that actually what you told me is not true? It's a very big challenge because we do not talk. We're not the up and about, let me tell this person, tell this person, especially some pastors' children that are very close to church members. They go to their houses, they talk about it. Okay, this is what this church member told me. So this church member told me. So where we do not have that kind of privilege, let's say of grace, let me call it a grace, because some people have the grace. So when we don't have that kind of grace of, talking about every little thing, the people we talk to are our parents. Whatever pains we have, we tell our parents, we share it with them. So it just ends there. So there is no other party to talk to things about that can now go ahead to change the orientation that others have about you. So that's one challenge we have. There are a lot of stuff we've heard about ourselves that we can't even, what's the essence of calling people, okay, I heard this thing, and then this is not it, this is it. So people just have formed up and summed up ideas about us. Some we've heard, some we've not even heard.
That's true.
Some that died down as a result of them getting close to us. And some we can't even change. So that's a very big challenge that but trusting God. However, what we just advise people is that assumptions are always 99% wrong. You do not know a person until you move close to the person. And then even if a person tells you something about another person, the best thing for you to do is to hear from the other party. Don't just judge a one-sided opinion.
That's true. Okay, thank you. What's your own challenge?
Okay, so another one for me is this. I would paint a scenario. Say your parents have a little issue with a church member, anybody in the church. Some of them tend to take it out on you as a pastor's child.
That's true.
Do you understand? They feel like, okay, I cannot insult Baba. I can't insult Mama. I can't fight with Baba, Mama, but you just notice that you greet some people and they don't even answer you. And it all you didn't And you're wondering what happened. But of course, we talk as a family, you know. Wisdom is profitable to direct. Sometimes you know these people. What do? Our parents have trained us in such a way that even when we know that they are at loggerheads with a party, they will tell us, it's not your battle, it's not your fight. Do you understand? Greet the person. In fact, that is when you should greet the person more. Do you understand? This is my mom. She says it. That is when you should greet the person more. Don't make it obvious that, you know, we've told you something, and this is not to say that it's everything that, you know, happens in the church that our parents call us aside to tell us, you know, it's even in the tenants. You do not discuss the affairs of ministers or, you know, anything in your house. If you sow to the wind, be ready to reap the whirlwind, you know. Yes, and they've trained us with that in such a way that even we ourselves, we find it difficult to gossip about people because we feel like, oh, that thing is actually working for us. You don't talk about ministers or people anyhow.
Okay, I've seen situations where some ministers, some pastors will use their children as informants to get information for them, and they use it.
I don't think I've even heard about that before. Really?
Yeah.
Well,
Informants in the church, right?
Yes, in the church.
it depends on the relationship.
The kind of information.
Exactly.
Actually.
And then the relationship of the child with members. She said that earlier. Yeah. Some children are up and about. Okay. There's no church member's house they don't know. You know,
we're not saying it's bad.
Yes.
No, it's good though. It's good. Of course, church members are amazing people. Yeah. You know, but then human beings, we're not perfect too. You know, it's possible we stepped on toes. Of course, you know, we're not perfect. But then, about the information thing, I don't think. What we do is, we stand as watchdogs in the church. Sometimes when daddy is up there, you know, when the spirit is is moving him, you know, he says some things, you know, it's normal for everyone. As long as you're a public speaker, sometimes you overtalk and say things you don't mean, and then people misinterpret, and you don't get the chance to tell them, oh, this is what I was talking about, you know. We try to notice the gestures, you know, like, okay, daddy, it feels like when you said that thing,
this person did this.
Like 70% of people in church didn't find it funny. I think you should find a way to readjust.
So
next
that's
time,
the kind of information.
Exactly. Okay, next time, don't say it again. Oh. You understand? So I think that's what we do. But aside the using your children to gossip, I know.
There's one challenge I want to talk about again. Okay, because there are a lot. Trust me. But we'll just pick a few of them. Okay, so I think another thing is church members coming up to you, saying things they ought not to, and they don't expect you to be angry. I've had an incident where someone came to me and the person was like, "You are fat." Like, and it was like, you're actually fat. Try and reduce your weight. And I'm like,
you're looking bigger than your sister.
Bigger than your sister. And I'm like, really? It's not even about being a pastor's child now, but it's just respecting people's privacy. That's what we call emotional intelligence. Just be in your space. You don't know what this person brought from home. You don't know if this person is coming with one hot temper. And of course, the moment I give a response, what's the next thing he will say?
Pastor's child has done this and said that.
We're humans too. We're humans too.
I hope every church member will understand that pastors' children are as human as they are. And they have feelings and emotions. They can react to situations as it appears to them. So there is a part, chapter 6, you said, come back home. Have you ever had a course to leave the church? Okay, this is my father's assembly. I think let me go to another assembly or generally. No. What about you?
Okay, no. Can I say more than the no? Okay, no. Because the truth is, a lot of pastors, like she said earlier, she said wisdom is profitable to direct. Like we said earlier, a lot of pastors' children might not like the assembly maybe their father is in. It's normal. Because it's possible that the previous assembly you've been was more active or, you know, maybe more better than the other one. Not in terms of the maybe congregation or what. Maybe just the activities, the youth, the vibrant atmosphere and all. However, wisdom is profitable to direct, and this is what we do. We try to find a means of balance, even amidst wherever we find ourselves. Just find something worth doing wherever you find yourself. So it shouldn't always be a complaint. I'm here. Where I was coming before does not look like where I am. But where you are now, what can you do? How can you blend? That's true. What better thing can you do How can you bring what you have done before or in your previous place? How can you bring it to where you are now? So instead of making complaints, instead of complaining, okay, the choir or something happened, just find a place and make yourself useful. Leave an impact before leaving.
Okay. All right. As pastor's children, you wouldn't want to say it, but I'll raise it up. Okay. Are you exactly satisfied with what your father earns? That's the monthly salary. Is it not a challenge to you at all?
Okay. So, Daddy told us that, it's in chapter 1, actually. Yes, it is. He was an employer of labor, to the glory of God. He had his own business, He was doing fine before he joined the ministry. But, of course, there are some things you can't just do away with. He told us that he asked God specifically, how would I fend for my family? How would you take care of me? God said, whenever you need anything, ask me and I'll provide. That has been my dad's watchword. My dad is so transparent to the extent that he would show us his account balance. Just to be sure. So you will know that it's not like daddy has money and it's not, you understand? He would show us, this is how much I'm earning. But let's just say the grace of God has been sufficient. People are always there to help, of course. He has children of consolation, like he calls them, children of consolation, and we thank them so much for always being by his side, to heed the call whenever he reaches out to them. And of course, please, let's not forget, God has been supplying the needs. Trust me, God has been supplying the needs.
And to back that up, the Bible says, faithful is it that is called, who also will do it.
Yes.
Okay, in this book, I think you made mention of some certain people who had been hurt by the church, especially when you painted the story of the individual whose father died in the course of the ministry and he didn't get what he wanted from it. And a lot of ministers' children, especially some whose father had passed into glory, some of their expectations, they didn't get it, and they are now having bitterness against the church, like you advised in this book. So what are you going to say now that people can see you?
Okay. So we would like to appeal to our fathers, we'd like to appeal to our fathers to create a forum for preachers' children, pastors' children, I believe you'll be shocked to find out that we have pastors' children that are doing fine in their various walks of life.
That's true.
Sometimes it's good to have these people around, to help you, speak to you, motivate you, make you feel that you're not living another person's life. Some people feel like it's a burden, like, if my dad is not a pastor, my life will not be like this. But some people need to be told that that is actually God's design for their life. You understand? So if we have something like this where people that are pastors' children are already doing fine, can actually come to reach out to these set of people, to reach out to us, you understand? It would go a long way, especially for ministers' children that are still little. You understand? When you start training them, like see you now, catch them young. When you start training them from their baby stage, they would understand that at some point in life, there's this part where you get to and certain challenges come in. This is how to tackle this challenge. I passed through it. This is what I did. Okay. This is how I succeeded. This is what you can do. And for those who, their parents, who have lost their parents, I feel there could be, I don't know, I know this is the logical thing to do, maybe a pause, where you pay them, their parents, something like, I don't, yes, gratuity, exactly, where you pay them a certain amount every month, so they don't feel like they've been, the father is gone, he has finished his service, and that's just the end. You understand? Some of them even leave the church. They leave the apostolic church and move to other denominations, but that's their outcry. You understand what I'm saying? Yes. So I feel that there should be, I don't know if it's in place, actually. I don't know if it's in place. If it is in place already, that's a wonderful one, yes. But then, I feel that things like that should be available for these set of individuals.
All right, do you have anything to add to that?
I'll just add that they can also be useful in different institutes in the church.
Yes.
For example, the university for those that have the certifications and needed for that. And even in GVTV, Lorna Bread, we have so many, Lorna Water,
Infrastructures.
yeah, so many, they can employ them, can employ some of them.
Okay, another thing that a lot of people would say about being pastors' children is the issue of, when did this book come out?
Last year.
Last year.
2020.
Which month?
September.
September. Between September, where were you when the book was launched?
Where?
Yes, where were you fellowshipping? You are
Okay, Ifako Assembly, Ifako area.
This is April 2021. Where are you right now? Your
Igbo
father.
Ora district
That's
and
it. The
Odono
movement,
area.
the
Okay.
movement
Yes.
from that place to another place. A lot of people see it as a challenge that, okay, at any point in time, we don't know where our father, we could sleep here this month and next month we're sleeping over in Kaduna and it could be anywhere. So how do you handle this movement almost every time?
Okay, do you want to start?
Sincerely, it's not always easy.
Okay.
The first thing that comes to your mind is how we're going to pack. That's the first thing, like how we're going to pack, having known that you've settled down in a place for so many years, sometimes like 2 years, 1 year, and of course you know that you have a lot of properties. And so you're like, the first thing that comes to the mind is how you're going to pack. And then the next thing is some of the friends you've made, some of the things you're doing in the house of God. So, you know, if soldier go, soldier come. We don't have a choice. When it comes, it comes.
Has it in any way affected you? Or
Okay,
maybe
schooling.
affected your schooling, affected anything that you could lay hands on and say, this movement has actually affected me in this part?
To the glory of God, God has just been wonderful, sincerely. How? Because, you know, throughout the period when we were in secondary school, I don't think there was any maybe major kind of transfer that had to affect the school. Oh no, of course. There has been a point where we were not really staying in the mission house.
Okay.
Because our school was far from the mission house.
And then it was even under construction.
The mission house.
But Daddy was there.
Daddy was there.
Yeah, he was there.
So yes, it was under construction, exactly. That he had to use banners to, you know, demarcate, cover the place. And then school was far. So there was a way we just had to manage one way or the other. And we were moving and we were always visiting. We were still going until the place was, you know, finally developed to the glory of God. So it's always that I think that's one of the major time then subsequently, you know, in university you move to school and you only come back during holiday.
Let dad and mom sort themselves.
I remember 2017 or 2018. I traveled to serve, and when I came back,
I entered into a different house.
Do you understand? I'm like, where are we for God's sake? Where is this? But then, I mean, change management, ability to adapt to several, you know, different environments. It's not easy, trust me. But then, we thank God for grace. We thank God for mercy.
While we go through the last stage of this questioning, I would like you to share your experience with us while writing this book, especially the part where you interviewed your fellow ministers' children. So what were the things that struck you? What were the things that inspired you in the course of writing this book, especially the part of the interview? Okay. So let's start with that.
Okay. Our choice of, when we were writing this book, we looked at it and decided to go out of our sphere, out of the apostolic church. Why? Because people think, or some people might think that it's just the apostolic church that have one or two things to say concerning the challenges of a preacher's kid. So we wanted to go beyond the preacher's kid.
Okay.
So we sat down to actually look at those we could pick and pick. I'm sure there are many others. In fact, we just had to reduce the number. There are so many. There are so many of them.
I can see Joshua Mike Bamiloye.
Okay, that was actually, I interviewed him for my blog. I have a blog. Okay. It's called My Inner Awesomeness. Okay. Yes, I interviewed him and, you know, yes.
All right, go ahead.
Okay, so we actually, and, you know, we actually had a conversation. We first of all called, we talked, and then the next minute we were like, so we would like to interview you for... Yes. I'm so interested.
They always have a lot. So there's a lot to say. If you read, there's a lot.
You see that a lot of them it's like they poured out pains.
That's true.
Pains. They poured out pains. So we wanted people to know that beyond the Apostolic Church, beyond Adefolakemi and Damilare, there are more. There are more struggles, pains, experiences that we really love people to read. And I'm sure there's still more. And we are coming with more. We are coming with more.
Yes.
Oh, that's good.
We are.
Okay, what about you? So what, as we wrap it up, so what would we say is your final words to people out there, especially preachers' kids?
Okay. So for preachers' kids, I mean, this is actually for everybody. Discover yourself. Self-discovery. You know, as a public figure, everyone always has something to say about you. Everybody has one advice to give you. When we were transferred, everybody called, everybody had something to say, you know, wherever you find yourself, you know, even when you're in that line, they will still, and you just have to listen to them. You have to give them listening ears so they won't say you're proud and everything. So discover yourself so you don't need to get everybody's validation before you do something. You know, this is part of the challenges that we did not mention. Sometimes you have to think of what church members will think before you do something. And that's really wrong. It's actually wrong. Own your personality to the end. Be who you are, irrespective of whatever anybody thinks or feels or says about you. When you discover yourself and, you know, you boost your self-esteem to a level where whatever it is you hear, you still stand strong. I mean, there were times you heard that some people even said, it's like those girls are even wishing that their daddy is not a pastor. They look tired of everything. And they didn't even know that we ourselves, to the glory of God, you know, we are loving it and we will continue by God's grace. You understand? So just discover who you are, please. Discover yourself and turn off to whatever anybody, of course, negative things. Pick from every advice you're given, sift it, and use the very, very important ones. And of course, be prayerful too.
All right, thank you very much for your time on this program. That's Damilare and Adefolakemi Ujo, the authors of the book, The Preacher's Kids. Yes, if you are a preacher's kid, you are a child to any pastor, whichever denomination, we would like to hear from you. If you have anything you would like us to address or discuss, it may be denominational, it may be generally, maybe you can reach out to us. You're seeing the number on your screen. You can just send a message to us. It could be a WhatsApp number. We can take this up beyond this.